Have you ever noticed how your energy changes before you even arrive somewhere? Not after the conversations, not after the noise, but before it all begins. The moment you know you have to be around people, something inside you quietly tightens. Your body becomes more alert. Your thoughts become more active. And even if you can't explain it, a part of you already feels tired. Why does something that looks so normal from the outside feel so heavy on the inside? Why does being around people sometimes feel like something you have to prepare for instead of something you can simply step into? You might tell yourself it's just your personality, that you're more introverted, that you prefer quiet. But this doesn't fully explain it, because it's not just about preferring silence. It's about the effort you feel in spaces where others seem effortless. It's about how even simple conversations can feel like something you have to manage. You listen, you respond, you stay present. But there's always a part of you that feels like it's working behind the scenes, and that's the part most people don't see. You may look calm, you may sound normal, you may even appear engaged, but internally, there's a constant awareness running. You're noticing tone, expression, timing. You're sensing shifts in energy, even small ones. You're thinking about how your words might land, how your presence is being received, how the dynamic is changing moment to moment. It's subtle, but it never fully turns off. And over time, that creates a kind of quiet exhaustion. Not the kind that comes from doing too much physically, but the kind that comes from staying mentally and emotionally engaged for longer than your system feels comfortable with. A steady drain that builds in the background. You might start noticing it in small ways, leaving gatherings earlier than you used to, feeling relief when plans are cancelled, preferring one-on-one conversations over groups, choosing environments where you don't have to adjust yourself as much, and sometimes choosing to be alone. Not because you don't care about people, not because you don't value connection, but because being alone feels like the only place where your system can finally rest. Because when you're alone, you're not monitoring anything, you're not interpreting anything, you're not adjusting yourself to fit into a moment. You're just there, as you are, without needing to filter or translate your experience. And that feels different. But this pattern doesn't appear out of nowhere. At some point, your system learned that being around people required a certain level of awareness, that staying connected meant staying attentive, that being understood wasn't always guaranteed, so it became safer to observe, to read, to adjust, not in a dramatic way, not in a way that stands out, but in small, repeated moments. Moments where you had to figure things out on your own. Moments where you had to sense what was needed without it being clearly expressed. Moments where being fully yourself didn't always feel simple or natural, so your mind adapted. It became good at noticing, good at anticipating, good at staying one step ahead of what might happen next, and that ability stayed with you. Now, in everyday social situations, it shows up as awareness, as sensitivity, as a kind of emotional intelligence that allows you to pick up on things quickly. But underneath that, there's also effort, because your system is still doing what it learned to do. It's still scanning, still interpreting, still managing. And even if nothing is wrong in the present moment, your body doesn't fully relax. It remains slightly engaged, slightly alert, slightly prepared. And that ongoing engagement is what makes socializing feel exhausting. Not because of the people themselves, but because of what's happening inside you while you're with them. Imagine someone who walks into a room and immediately starts processing everything. The tone of conversations, the subtle distance between people, the way someone's voice changes when they speak to a certain person, the way their own presence shifts depending on who they're interacting with. Now imagine that happening without conscious effort. It just happens every time. That person might look completely fine from the outside, but internally they are constantly engaged, constantly aware, constantly adjusting, and that takes energy, a lot of it. So even a short interaction can feel like something that requires recovery afterward. You might notice that after spending time with others, you need silence, not just because you're tired, but because you need to return to yourself, to a state where you're not processing external input, where your mind can slow down, where your body can release that subtle tension it's been holding. And the more you experience this pattern, the more your system begins to anticipate it. You don't just feel tired after socializing, you feel it before it even begins, because your body remembers. It remembers the effort, the awareness, the internal work, and it prepares for it. That's why sometimes you hesitate before saying yes, why you pause before committing, why something inside you leans towards staying in a space that feels more controlled, more predictable, more quiet. Not because you've lost interest in people, but because your system is trying to manage its energy. Over time, this changes how you relate to social life. You may find yourself drawn to depth instead of variety, to conversations that feel real instead of ones that simply fill time, to people who allow you to stay as you are instead of environments that require constant adjustment. And when that kind of connection is missing, even the most active social setting can feel empty. You might be surrounded by people and still feel alone, not because no one is there, but because there is no sense of ease, no sense of being able to fully settle into yourself. And that absence becomes more noticeable over time. You start recognizing it more clearly. You become less willing to ignore it. You begin to trust the feeling that tells you something isn't aligned, even if everything looks fine on the surface. And that awareness changes your choices. You become more selective, more intentional, more aware of what feels sustainable and what doesn't. You may spend more time alone, not as a withdrawal from life, but as a way to regulate your internal state, to create a space where your mind and body can finally rest from constant engagement. And in that space, something becomes clearer. That maybe socializing itself isn't the problem. Maybe it's the way your system has learned to experience it. Maybe it's the quiet patterns you've carried for a long time, the ones that taught you to stay aware, to stay adjusted, to stay connected in ways that required more from you than they gave back. And now, those patterns are becoming visible, not as something to fix, but as something to understand. Because when you begin to see these patterns, you also begin to see yourself differently, not as someone who is distant or disconnected, but as someone whose system has been working continuously, quietly, to navigate complex emotional environments. And that changes the way you interpret your own behavior. It softens the question. It moves it away from what's wrong with me and towards something more honest. What actually feels natural to me? What kind of presence allows me to relax? What kind of interaction doesn't require me to monitor myself? What kind of space lets me stay the same without adjusting? You don't need immediate answers. Just noticing these questions is enough. Because sometimes the exhaustion you feel isn't about socializing itself. It's about the distance between who you are internally and how you feel you need to be externally. And the more aware you become of that distance, the harder it becomes to ignore. Not in a loud way, not in a dramatic way, but quietly, like something inside you has started to pay attention. And maybe that's what this feeling really is. Not disconnection, not withdrawal, but a quiet form of awareness. An awareness that is slowly guiding you towards something that feels more real, more steady, more aligned with how you actually experience the world. And that awareness, even if it feels confusing at first, is not working against you. It's simply showing you something you were never meant to ignore.